So we're just remembering how we came to write the book, Team Topologies. And it goes back to 2013 when I wrote a blog post. It's kind of based on an organization I was working for at the time, where we had some interesting dynamics between different groups. And I put out a blog post saying, well, you can do DevOps in this way or this way or this way. Kind of doesn't matter. You just have to kind of choose and define the boundaries and define your kind of responsibilities and things. And it seemed to resonate with lots of people. It was in a newsletter, DevOps weekly newsletter. Lots of people saw it. And then I actually met you, didn't I, at InfoQ conference in 2015. Did an interview, and then we wrote an article for InfoQ, which was really well received. And I think it got translated into several different languages, including Chinese as well. And that actually led to us later on doing some work. I mean, we'll talk about it in a minute, but we did doing some work with a big Chinese corporation as well. And then we actually started working together, didn't we, on some client projects?
Yeah, and the first time when we had that interview, I was the InfoQ editor for DevOps, and it really surprised me. The topics you were talking about, the collaboration between teams and different patterns of structuring your teams, that was quite striking as something really new, so I was immediately drawn to it. And like you said, then we worked together actually in some of these clients that looked at that same work. And I think it kind of evolved organically as we were working with different clients. We are seeing what worked and what didn't work, trying to help them shape the way their teams worked together, how they interacted, and so on. And it kind of evolved from the original DevOps Topologies, which became quite famous, let's say, in a way. They've been referenced a lot. And we kind of went on to write the book, Team Topologies, that IT Revolution Press is going to publish, and where we expand the ideas of the DevOps topologies to kind of a wider scope of IT and how business relates to IT and how do you improve the flow of work of teams in today's world where there is more and more demand to go faster but still have quality in what you deliver. And it's really important to think about how teams interact and how they're structured.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the main things that comes out of the book, isn't it? Is the kind of the interactions between teams, the connections, if you like, between different parts of the organisation as a system, which are some of the new ideas in the book that haven't really been talked about before. Going back to the original kind of DevOps topologies, they're quite static. Lots of organisations have found them really useful. So we know that Netflix, for example, found them very, very useful in thinking about how the teams at Netflix were organised and so on. And we also know that the big publishing company Condé Nast International, they found them really useful too. And lots of other organisations have found them to be helpful in thinking about how their teams interrelate. But the thing that's new in the Team Topologies book is there's several things. One is the way in which teams interact, what we call team interaction modes, and then so that's about setting expectations for people in teams to know how they should talk to other teams. But there's some other things as well, like cognitive load and Conway's law and things that we've kind of brought together, and we think, as far as we know, this is the first time that someone's brought them together in this way to talk about team interactions and the kind of organisation as a system or organism in this way, isn't it?
I believe so. I think what happened is that as we saw what worked, what didn't, and how you really need to not only think about team structures, but how they evolve over time when you have different problems and how do you face them, and you need to find out the right structures for that moment in time. So the DevOps topologies were static. They started conversations, and now we evolved that thinking to how do you sustain good team structures and interactions over time. And then we kind of looked back at what are some of the reasons for this kind of interactions to make sense. So why do sometimes you need to collaborate more, other times you need teams to be more independent. And this is also strongly influenced by Conway's law that you mentioned, which says that in the end, your system's architecture is going to reflect the communication path and the team structures in your organization more than whatever was the initial intended software architecture. So that is quite an important corollary, that we need to think about team design at the same time that we're thinking about software system design. The two go hand in hand. So that is like critical foundation of the book, and the other one is the fact that the cognitive load on teams needs to be taken into consideration, because more and more development teams and application teams have more and more responsibilities, so they need help, they need support to be able to deliver quickly and with quality, when there is so much that they need to work on and know about and be able to do.